The Strongest in Dragon Ball series on my channel is a series that focuses on the feats of the most powerful warriors in the Dragon Ball universe, and now I feel the time has come to explore some of the characters from Dragon Ball Super, the series where the power scale was elevated to a new degree. Now, naturally, the Dragon Ball Renaissance began in 2013 with the Battle of Gods movie and the introduction of Beerus and Whis, but I want to hold off on covering the gods and the deities until a future edition of this video and focus on some of the most powerful mortals that Dragon Ball Super gave us. And the first mortal I want to tackle here is not really a new character as far as somebody who made their debut during this current run of Dragon Ball from Battle of Gods and beyond, but rather one that made his return during the Renaissance and became a major player for the entirety of the Dragon Ball Super series. Let's talk about Golden Frieza, whom from point A to point B may have had the biggest leap in power of any character in the history of Dragon Ball. Let's talk about Golden Frieza, what makes him special, his amazing feats, and more on this edition of The Strongest in Dragon Ball. What's going on, everyone? If you like the videos I'm putting out on this channel, remember to hit that like button. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get all my content right to your device every time I upload. And I thank you for your continued support. As I said in the intro, this series is called The Strongest in Dragon Ball, and what we do is we analyze the power and the feats of various different characters that looked impressive in the Dragon Ball world. And the title Strongest in Dragon Ball is the most fitting title for Frieza because when he was first introduced into the series, he was the bona fide strongest character. Before Toriyama had come up with gods and Majins and artificial humans, Frieza was the strongest in the universe, and that was stated several times in the series. And at the end of the Frieza saga, he was, of course, defeated by Goku in battle. Toriyama would then continue the story by having Frieza come back and get killed by Trunks on Earth, and that would be the last we would see of Frieza from the pen of Toriyama. That does not include his appearances in various anime filler, or in GT, or in various movies. From the pen of Toriyama himself, Frieza would not return until 2015's Resurrection F, where he would debut a new ability, a new form, so to speak, called Golden Frieza. Now, this form was originally referred to not as a transformation, but more so as an evolution, because we know that Frieza transforms himself into various different forms during Dragon Ball Z. This is more so an evolution, a step above his final form into something greater. Now, one thing that we should clarify about Frieza's race is that there's not much that's known about them, but we do know from the mouth of Toriyama himself that he and his father King Cold are mutant members of their race. That is to say, they are prodigies to a degree. And I know that Toriyama tends to use the word prodigy very frequently in Dragon Ball to kind of explain as to why somebody's stronger than they actually are, but that was stated way back when, and it wasn't until Resurrection F that we really saw what this meant, because in Resurrection F, Frieza comes back to life and even states that he doesn't feel like he's as powerful as he used to be. But that's okay because his thirst for revenge would drive him to doing something he had never done before in his life, and that is train. Now, I find this a little bit silly because before the film came out, many were speculating as to how Frieza would get so powerful as to compete with God-level Goku and characters of that ilk. But Frieza training for 4 months, and keep in mind, he claimed to have never trained a day in his life, even though technically his fight with Goku on Namek should count as some form of training because his body was getting beat up and he was, straining himself. But nonetheless, he trained for 4 months and was able to leapfrog every major subsequent Dragon Ball villain after him. He got stronger than Cell, he got stronger than Majin Buu, he even got more powerful than Battle of Gods Super Saiyan God Goku. In fact, if you watch the film, Golden Frieza is implied to be more powerful than even Super Saiyan Blue Goku during their fight. And it was revealed during their fight that even though Frieza had all this potential physically, he still was not mentally a martial artist, and thus when Frieza was able to tap into this golden power that he never even knew that he had, he rushed to Earth to fight Goku before allowing his body to become accustomed to this new power, and thus his stamina drained, which is very similar to what happened to Frieza on planet Namek. But remember, in Resurrection F, the impressiveness of Frieza is not just Golden Frieza. This dude one-shotted Gohan. This is post-Buu Saga Gohan, who was able to tap into Super Saiyan 2. Frieza punched him once in the gut and knocked him out in his first form. That is the largest singular increase in power when it came to appearances in the entire Dragon Ball series. That is to say, Frieza in 4 months surpassed everyone in Dragon Ball Z. Some would argue that maybe Tagoma in the Dragon Ball Super TV version of Resurrection F may have a bigger increase, but I still find Frieza's to be much more impressive. And that being said, we ain't even done yet because we thought that Resurrection F was going to be the last that we saw of Frieza. After being beaten by Vegeta and killed by Goku, he was sent back to the flower fields of hell, never to be seen again, until the Universal Survival Arc, where Frieza made his return. Now, one of the big reasons as to why Frieza's return is such a big deal in Dragon Ball Super is because the series did a great job of expanding him from being just a villain to being an actual respectable martial artist. First, with Resurrection F, we saw Frieza training for the very first time, sort of discovering what he can do with his body and tapping into powers he never even knew that he had. Well, during the Universal Survival Arc, when Goku goes to visit Frieza in Hell, we find out that Frieza evolved not just physically, but also mentally as well, learning how to train himself through meditation from a mental perspective to make his body not only significantly more powerful, but also surpass that stamina problem that he had when he last fought Goku and Vegeta. This would, of course, be called True Golden Frieza. Now, I covered in detail the idea and the influence behind this sort of mental training in a video I did with Kendamu several months ago, which I'll be sure to link to you at the end of this video, because we really break down sort of how Frieza did this, but we really see a glimpse of how powerful Frieza has become now, even before the beginning of the tournament. Let's not forget Dragon Ball Super Episode 95. Frieza became the first person to not only block Hakai destructive energy, but actually learn to manipulate it. We had never seen any character do this prior to Frieza doing it. This was one of the most impressive feats that any mortal could possibly achieve. Not just that, but we really see how strong he got at the end of episode 95, where him and Super Saiyan Blue Goku knock each other out. Now remember, this is not the same Goku that Frieza fought in Resurrection F. This is Goku after Universe 6, fighting with Hit. This is Goku after the Future Trunks arc. This is Goku much, much more powerful than he was during Resurrection F. And Frieza was able to land a blow to him to knock him out. This new True Golden Frieza was leaps beyond the character they fought in Resurrection F, and during the tournament, he proved to be easily one of the top 4 strongest fighters, maybe top 5, depending on what you think and who you debate with, from Team Universe 7. Frieza was already stated to have power beyond imagination, but this new True Golden Frieza, with better ki control, better control of his body, and mental and physical training, became a legitimate monster. And at one time, although very briefly, was able to match a tired, exhausted Jiren. That to me tells you that if Frieza would continue to train, learn more about his body, learn more about his mind, Golden Frieza could be a problem for almost any mortal. And don't forget, Frieza also survived God of Destruction Toppo's Hakai energy, which at the time was able to alter the entire world of Void. Frieza survived it. This dude is serious business. Now, one thing I want to do a quick debunk on is voice actor Ryusei Nakao, who portrays Frieza in the series, stating that Frieza's power level is 100 quintillion. Please understand that Nakao was just kidding around when he said that. He was just making up a random number because in the same interview, he said that Frieza was a nice guy. So that was just Nakao trying to be funny, but I've seen some people claim that this is actually Frieza's true power level, It's not. He's just goofing off. There haven't been any real power level measurements within the series since way back in DBZ. So measuring Golden Frieza's power is almost impossible, especially since with Dragon Ball Super, it changes depending on whatever they want to do with it. So as of right now, based on everything that we know, Golden Frieza's power level may be immeasurable. Not to mention a quick side note here before we close out the video, in the Dragon Ball Super version of Resurrection F, it was stated in the TV version, not the movie, that Golden Frieza can sense God Ki. I did a whole video on this with MJ. I'm going to leave a link to that video at the end of this one for you to check that one out if you haven't seen it yet, because that was a big revelation to many and was part of a big mistranslation controversy. But he can do it according to the TV series, which again just adds more danger to an already dangerous fellow. So I thank you again for checking out this edition of The Strongest in Dragon Ball. Check out the previous editions and look forward to some newer ones coming in the future where I dissect more Dragon Ball Super characters and other characters from the Dragon Ball world, including the gods. That's coming up in the future as well. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.